For your daily Tesla report for Monday, January 13, 2025, it and hashtag 039, S carry RDAC from Imp Stocks. Now let and hashtag 039, S examine the charts. I and hashtag 039, LL begin with the weekly bar chart that spans 5 years, which essentially shows that we settled above the 341.72 two-year channel top the week before. I believe it was November 18, roughly 7 weeks ago. Keep in mind that the necessary 1% margin is triggering a strong buy signal on this weekly bar chart. A parallel structure to the 341.72 channel top, the 504.22 5-year channel top was anticipated as the final goal. We came very near to achieving it before sliding away, but that obviously didn't and hashtag 039, T happen. A week or two later, we set off a sell signal on the daily chart below what is currently in the upper 460s, low 470s. And it happened on a Monday, a few weeks ago. In fact, I believe it was 2 weeks ago today, that we set up a retest of 341.72 as a 2 to 3 week goal by opening and closing below this rising structure. That assumption is still in place below 406.60 after 2 weeks. As you may have noticed if you have been following the test report over the past week or so, we have set 406.60 as our trend-defining resistance, below which 341.72 is probably going to be the price for the next week or two. Today, we still have 379.28 on the way down. Although it can contain today and hashtag 039, S lows, I believe it will be highly vulnerable to violation on the next try. And if we close below 479 today, I apologize, 379.28, 341.72 is probably going to happen in 3 to 5 days or fewer. We don and hashtag 039, T have it marked if we open or break below 379.28 today, but 361.93 is an intraday target. The high that was released in the midst was all. The high of 361.93, which lasted for around a week and a half before we broke over it, is, I believe, around November 25. Additionally, if we close below 379.28 today, we should reach our target of 341.72 within the week. This kind of decline can limit intraday selling, but it can also limit selling into February and even into the second quarter. After reaching 341.72, we can round up from here into the low 500 range in 3 to 5 months, or sooner. And with the current elevated volatility, I would predict that we would round up to 504.22 after testing 341.72 in a few months or fewer. Please pardon me. That, in my opinion, adequately addresses the drawback. Weekly buying pressures may be contained by the resistance level, 406.60, which represents a 3-week channel top. Which, with this lower high rotational dynamic that we see below 406.60, obviously maintains bearish momentum. Now, pardon me once again if we manage to get through. My probable intraday objective is 417.64 if we manage to break through or open above 406.60 today. And on the weekly chart that was released, that is only the low of the high. When we released that high 3, 4, or 5 weeks ago, the low for the week was 417.64. The low of a notable high, the high of a significant low, and the low of a significant high are all highly tradable levels that are worth keeping an eye on in terms of basic bar chart analysis. At least for the day, they can put an end to a rally. So let me return to this chart once more. This is probably something I could have had noted here. On the chart, it changes to 417 at this point. Thus, their ISN and hashtag 039, T much of a push. 476.64 is likely if we break through or open above 406.60. And tomorrow is probably going to be 429.83 if we close today above 406.60. It is possible that we might see 429.83 today if we push, particularly if we open over 406.60 today. I would therefore avoid staying short in order to push through 406.60. If you don and hashtag 039, T have 406.60. I like not to risk more than 2% of my trading capital on any one trade, regardless of where your stop loss is. That and hashtag 039, S my rule, then. It depends on how much you and hashtag 039, putting in Tesla, but I don and hashtag 039, he thinks so. Are you all in, 10% of your trading account, is that right? These are all questions that are specific to each trader, However, I wouldn't and hashtag 039, T ride that short position if we break beyond 406.60, especially if you and hashtag 039, an intraday swing trader who trades for 3 to 5 days, up to $4.2983. For one day, the market may stall at $4.2983, and we may even drop back to $4.0660 for 1, 2, or 3 days. However, as I and hashtag 039, been saying, I do believe that a settlement over $4.0660 does signal a bullish continuation up to or back to $5.0422. This surge is likely to last 2 to 3 weeks. Yes, we may still hit a high point for the first quarter and then decline again if we close today above 406.60, which will put us within 2 to 3 weeks of reaching the 504.22 level. With a 5-year channel top, there and hashtag 039, a sizable area that can handle quarterly purchasing pressures. I want to return to this chart now. It simply stated that, if you don and hashtag 039, T stick with a settlement that and hashtag 039, S higher than 406.60, and there and hashtag 039, S a good explanation, in my opinion. However, a settlement over 429.83 would be the last straw, so to speak, on that scenario, on that idea, if you and hashtag 039, seeking for a more persuasive secondary ultimate shoot drop by signal, if you will. For this reason, I also have an upward pivot point, which is at 429.83. Thus, we have a secondary buy signal over 429.83 after an up pivot above 4.0660. If you trade on a scale, you might purchase some above 406.60 and then more above 429.83. I believe you should at least get out of your short position if you and hashtag 039, short at the moment and we close above 406.60. Do you want to go far? Yes. That is not an issue for me. That does, in my opinion, portend the low 500 region in the coming weeks. However, if you and hashtag 039, hoping for a double buy signal in a short amount of time, etc. above 429.83, it would be a settlement. After that, I believe we and hashtag 039, 2 to 3 weeks away from hitting that long-term channel peak of 504.22, where we can hold a strong high throughout the first and second quarters. Beyond everything I and hashtag 039, said, is there anything more to say? Not in my opinion. That and hashtag 039, all I have to say about this specific Tesla video. Finally, kindly click and quote, like and quote, share and quote, subscribe and quote, check out and quote, use Imp Stocks complimentary 5-day trial. You receive 2 stock selections each week, daily triple Q, daily SPY analysis, weekly Apple stock analysis, and more. And it and hashtag 039, all yours for 5 days in advance, free of charge. On your 5th day, you are free to leave. For the test on Monday, I and hashtag 039, stop there. Naturally, I and hashtag 039, be back tomorrow with Tuesdays. You also have a wonderful day.